The moment the heavy steel door of the confinement room clicked open, the stale, recycled air was replaced by the familiar, antiseptic scent of the base corridors. Freedom, or at least this version of it, felt strangely anticlimactic. I didn't pause to savor it. My first and only destination was Mark's office. I found him hunched over a stack of files, a perpetual frown etched between his brows. I placed the project application on his desk without a word. He looked up, his surprise evident. "You've thought this through? You're actually going?" he asked, pushing his glasses up his nose. I nodded, my voice steady when I replied, "Yes, Mark, I've thought about it." He had brought the highly classified research project to my attention a few weeks ago, a lifeline I hadn't been ready to grab. He'd told me I was an exceptionally talented researcher, that my skills were being wasted behind a desk, and that I shouldn't let my gifts atrophy. He'd suggested I discuss it with Clara, my wife, and seriously consider signing on. Back then, I was hesitant, still clinging to the life I'd built. But that was before Clara had personally escorted me to this very confinement room and locked the door herself, all because I dared to question her relationship with another man. 3 days in that silent, white box had given me all the clarity I needed. Mark leaned back in his chair, studying my face. "What does Clara say? Is she okay with you leaving?" I met his gaze, my voice betraying no emotion. "I've decided to divorce her." The words hung in the air between us. 3 years ago, I had willingly given up a significant promotion, a chance to stay on the front lines where I belonged, just to be with Clara. I moved from active field research to a mind-numbing desk job so our lives could align. My commander had tried to talk me out of it, my parents had pleaded with me to reconsider, and my colleagues had warned me I was making a monumental mistake. I didn't listen to any of them. I had given up the career I loved for the woman I loved. It was a trade I had made without regret. Unfortunately, it turned out Clara didn't value my sacrifice, and she had betrayed the love I had so freely given. For 3 long years, I had suppressed my own ambitions for the sake of our relationship. Now, that was over. I wouldn't give up on my dreams for anyone ever again. Mark hesitated, his expression shifting to one of concern. "Is this about Clara and Simon?" The affair between Clara and Simon was the worst-kept secret on the base, a topic of constant gossip that I had tried my best to ignore. He had heard the whispers, just like everyone else. "Yes," I said, feigning a nonchalance I didn't feel. "If her heart isn't with me, there's no point in holding on to the empty shell of a marriage." I took a deep breath. "I'll find a way to get her to sign the divorce papers. If she refuses, well, she's the one at fault for infidelity. I'll need your help to push the proceedings through," I added. Mark gave a slight, solemn nod. "Okay, departure is in 13 days. Use this time to get your affairs in order and sort everything out at home." "Got it." Leaving Mark's office, I felt a massive weight lift from my shoulders. The sky outside had grown dark, and a cold rain had begun to fall, plastering loose leaves to the pavement. I stood under the narrow eave of the administrative building, waiting for the downpour to lessen before heading home. As I looked out into the gray evening, my eyes caught a familiar scene in the distance. It was a woman with 2 men, or rather, a woman with a man and a young boy. It was Clara, Simon, and his son, Sam. Clara held Sam in one arm, her other hand holding an umbrella over the 3 of them, while Simon walked beside her with a gloomy expression. Their voices, faint but clear, carried on the damp wind. "Clara, move the umbrella closer to yourself. Your shoulder's getting soaked," Simon said, his voice laced with worry. "I'm fine," Clara replied, her tone soft with a tenderness I had never experienced. "Just make sure you don't get wet. Catching a cold would be terrible." Her voice, usually so stern and composed with me, was now gentle and caring. In our entire marriage, I had never heard her speak with such warmth. With me, her tone was either clinically calm or bitingly cold. I had simply assumed she didn't know how to be tender. But she did. Just not with me. A sharp ache pierced my heart at the realization. "Clara, today is the day Leo gets out of confinement," Simon asked again. "Aren't you going to pick him up? Is that really okay?" "It's fine," she replied, her voice hardening with a familiar annoyance. "He needs time to cool off after the mistake he made." "But what if he causes trouble for you?" Simon sounded worried. "He wouldn't dare," Clara said coldly. "Let's not talk about unpleasant things. We should hurry back. It's getting cold out. We can't let the kid catch a chill." "Okay, whatever you say, Clara." As their conversation continued, they moved further away, their figures eventually swallowed by the rain and darkness. I remained under the eave, a chill seeping into my bones that had nothing to do with the weather. I had foolishly believed that Clara and I were in love, but now I saw the truth. To her, I was just a nuisance, an obligation. Simon was the one she truly cared for, the love she kept hidden away, while I was merely a choice made out of a sense of duty. Thankfully, I was leaving soon. I forced a smile that felt more painful than tears, then stepped out from under the eave, braving the downpour. Back at our apartment, while I was boiling water for a much-needed bath, I heard a key in the door. A slender figure cast a long shadow across the floor, followed by a crisp, familiar voice. "How long have you been back? Have you eaten yet?" Clara asked. In the past, I had found her cool, detached voice strangely pleasing, imbued with an air of authority that I admired. But now, after hearing her soft tones with Simon, her usual voice sounded hollow and disingenuous. I swallowed the bitterness rising in my throat and replied lightly, "A while, and no, not yet." "Why didn't you make something to eat? Are you not hungry?" she asked, a hint of surprise in her voice. After days in that room, I felt disgusting. A shower seemed more important than food, I replied calmly. "Leo," Clara said, her voice firm. She walked over to me, grabbed my arm, and pulled me to my feet, forcing me to face her. "Are you angry with me? Are you upset that I locked you up?" she asked, her brow furrowed in a serious frown. "Shouldn't I be?" I asked, my own expression calm but distant. "Only soldiers who've committed serious infractions get put in confinement. What did I do that was so wrong, Clara? I questioned my wife about her relationship with another man. Is that a crime?" Seeing the indifference in my eyes, Clara seemed to feel an inexplicable sense of panic. From the moment we had gotten married, Leo's gaze had always been filled with adoration and love. He never tried to hide his affection for her. This was the first time since their wedding that he had looked at her with such coldness, and she found that she didn't like it at all. She instinctively tightened her grip on my hand. "Do you really think you're blameless in this?" she said coldly. "Simon lost his wife, and now he's raising his son all by himself. His life is already difficult enough. If you add to his troubles by spreading rumors and giving him a bad reputation, how is he supposed to manage? His wife was our comrade too. So what's wrong with me looking out for him a little? Leo, you didn't used to be so petty and concerned about such trivial things." I almost laughed out loud. So, confronting my wife about her emotional affair made me petty? I didn't bother to argue with her. I just calmly stated, "Let's get a divorce." Clara stared at me in disbelief, then snapped, "Stop being ridiculous." I looked her straight in the eye and said firmly, "Clara, I want a divorce. Once we're divorced, you can help Simon and his son as much as you want. I won't interfere in any way." "And you say you're not being ridiculous. I've already told you there's nothing going on between me and Simon. I'm just helping out a fellow comrade. Why do you keep bringing this up?" she said, her voice rising in anger. I nearly laughed again. this time from the sheer absurdity of her denial. I opened my mouth to say something more, but a frantic knock at the door cut me off. "Clara, are you home? Sam has a fever and he's delirious. I'm so scared. Can you please come and help me?" Simon's voice from outside was filled with a desperate helplessness, sounding like it was on the verge of breaking. Hearing this, Clara's demeanor instantly changed to one of anxiety. "Something's wrong with Sam. I need to go," she said quickly. "Stop being ridiculous, and I don't want to hear another word about divorce." Then she rushed out the door. "How did he suddenly get a fever? He seemed perfectly fine when we left," Clara asked anxiously, as her voice faded down the hall. "I don't know. Maybe it was the sudden change in weather. It started last night and just hasn't gone down," Simon replied. "Sam won't be in any real danger, will he?" "No, don't worry. Let's just go check on him," Olivia reassured him. I stood there, watching through the open doorway as they disappeared together into the rainy night. As he left, Simon glanced back at me, his eyes holding a look of disdain and challenge, the look of a victor gloating over the loser. Even though I was beginning to understand Clara's true nature, it still hurt to see her so openly abandon me for him. I felt a sharp pang in my heart. I closed the door, tidied up the few things that were out of place, and went to bed. The next morning, Clara was nowhere to be seen. When I inquired, I learned that she had been assigned to a mission and wouldn't be back for 5 days. Since she wasn't around, there was no point in trying to discuss the divorce. I started packing. Some of the things I wanted to keep, I boxed up to be sent back to my parents' home. The less important items I decided to give away to our neighbors. "Leo, these things look practically new and are in great condition. Why are you getting rid of them?" Greg from next door asked, looking genuinely surprised as I handed him a box of kitchen appliances. "I just don't have a need for them anymore, so I'm clearing things out. If you don't mind them being used and see anything you find useful, please keep it. If not, feel free to pass them on to someone else," I said with a light smile. "Thanks, Leo. These are fantastic. I'll definitely take them," Greg replied hastily, already looking through the box with interest. "All right, you take care, Greg. I'm going to head back now." As I turned to leave, Greg hesitated for a moment, then lowered his voice and leaned in. "Leo, don't mind me saying this, but a man really should keep a close eye on his wife. You've probably heard the rumors about Clara and that guy Simon, right? Well, they're not entirely baseless. I even saw Clara supporting him once when they were walking together. He claimed he had hurt his foot. But in public, Clara is a married woman. She shouldn't be helping him in such an intimate way, you know? Clara is young and already a captain. She has a bright future ahead of her. You can't let some other man steal her away." I felt a bit dazed hearing this. I remembered a time when I had twisted my own ankle and needed Clara's help to get to the infirmary. She had refused, saying that people would gossip and that it would harm her professional image. She wouldn't help me no matter how much I asked. In the end, I had to hobble to the infirmary by myself, in excruciating pain, a journey that took me an agonizingly long time. She even complained afterward about how slow I was, saying I was holding her up and showing no concern for my injury. I had always thought she was just incredibly strict and lacked a sympathetic side. But I was wrong. She could be caring when she wanted to be. It turned out she had been showing her true feelings all along. I had just been too blind to see it. I laughed bitterly to myself, but managed to nod and smile at Greg. "Thanks for telling me, Greg." After saying goodbye, I went back to my apartment. Most of my things were packed now, and the rooms felt cavernous and empty. I looked at the calendar on the wall, walked over, and circled the day I was scheduled to leave. Then, I crossed off today's date. In 7 days, I would finally be free from this place. That night, Clara returned unexpectedly. She found me sitting at the table, eating a simple dinner. "I'm back," she said, her standard greeting as she walked in. "Having dinner?" "Yeah," I replied, without looking up from my plate. Clara washed her hands and sat down at the table across from me. "Leo, get me some food," she said. Not as a request, but as an expectation, as if it were my duty. I remained unfazed and said, "I didn't make any dinner for you. You can cook some noodles for yourself in the kitchen." "Why didn't you make me dinner? Leo, are you still mad at me? Didn't I already explain everything to you? Why are you being so unreasonable?" She frowned and scolded. "You didn't tell me you were coming back today. Why would I have made you dinner? I don't like to waste food. This isn't the army barracks where we can just feed leftovers to the dogs." Clara looked as though I had just insulted her, but I simply picked up my plate and bowl and went to the kitchen to wash them. Clara chased after me into the kitchen. "Leo, it was my mistake earlier. I'm sorry. Please don't take it to heart," she continued, her tone softening slightly. "Since you didn't cook for me, could you at least make me some noodles? I'm starving." "I'm tired. Make them yourself." I placed the washed dishes on the drying rack and turned to leave the kitchen. Clara frowned and grabbed my hand. "Why are you acting like this, Leo? Are you still angry with me?" "What am I doing? I'm just telling you to make your own noodles. Is that a crime now?" I asked coldly. Clara bit her lip. "That's not what I meant." She just felt that my coldness and the distance I was putting between us were so unlike the man she knew. It made her feel uneasy, as if she couldn't quite grasp onto me anymore. "Let go. I'm tired. I need to rest," I said softly. Looking at my indifferent face, Clara's heart ached as if it were being pricked by tiny pins. Why was he being so cold to her? Was he really thinking about divorce? Was he truly done with her? That couldn't be possible. He had given up his career and broken ties with his family just to be with her. During their marriage, he had cared for her endlessly, his entire world revolving around her. He loved her so much. How could he just leave? He must just be upset because she was being too nice to Simon. He was jealous, trying to make her apologize. Thinking this way made Clara feel a bit more confident. "Leo, I know you're upset because I was kind to Simon. I've already told you nothing happened between us. I just felt sorry for him being a single father, and I tried to help him out a little. If it really bothers you that much, I'll stop talking to him. Please don't be mad, okay?" she said, shaking my hand in a pleading manner. In the past, if she had softened her stance like this, I would have been thrilled, eager to do anything she asked. But now, I only felt a sense of disgust and mockery. I looked intently at Clara, at her nervous expression and her clumsy attempts to comfort me, and found them laughable. Her excuses were always so absurd. Military life is inherently high risk, especially for those serving on the front lines. Simon wasn't the only military spouse who had suffered the loss of a partner. Why was she only so good to Simon? In the end, it was just an excuse. "Go make your noodles. I'm going to my room," I said calmly, removing her hand from my arm. Clara felt pierced by my indifference, but since I wasn't making a big scene, she assumed I was just venting my frustration, not truly ignoring her. This thought made her feel more at ease. She cooked the noodles herself and sat down at the table to eat. I leaned against the doorway, watching her. Clara noticed my gaze and offered a small smile. "Still hungry? Do you want me to share some with you?" Because of my recent change in attitude, Clara felt uneasy and was actively trying to be pleasing. "No thanks, I'm full," I declined, then added, "Join me somewhere tomorrow." Even though I had already decided to divorce her, I wanted to end our 3-year marriage on a relatively good note. After all, I had wholeheartedly loved this woman for 3 years. "Where are we going?" Clara asked. "You'll find out tomorrow. We'll leave at 9 in the morning." "Okay." "Promise me that no matter what happens, you'll come with me tomorrow," I said again, my voice firm. "Sure. Unless the army calls with an emergency, I'll go with you no matter what, Clara replied softly, sensing that the Leo who adored her was slowly coming back. Even if Simon shows up, you'll ignore him and come with me? I asked, a playful but pointed smile on my face. That's not likely to happen. Don't try to start an argument, Leo, Clara frowned, clearly displeased with the question. As long as you agree. I didn't want to hear any more of her excuses, so I turned and left the room. Shortly after I lay down, Clara came to bed. She reached out for me, but I caught her wrist. Leo, it's been a while since we've been together, she whispered, her breath catching a sensitive spot on my neck and making me shiver involuntarily. The next moment I sat up, my voice cold. Don't touch me. I don't want to. What is your problem, Leo? We're a married couple. This is normal, Clara said, frustrated at the rejection. Even in the darkness, I could sense the fiery anger in her eyes. Not wanting to get into another argument, I said calmly, I'm tired and I just don't feel like it. Let's just sleep. I couldn't bring myself to have any physical contact with Clara now. Whenever I did, the image of her with Simon would surface in my mind, the thought of how they might be secretly intimate, filling me with disgust. Seeing me turn my back to her, wrapping the blanket tightly around myself, Clara's anger grew. She mirrored my posture, turning her back to me as well. We lay there back to back, such intimate partners in name, yet feeling like we were worlds apart. The next morning I got up and made breakfast as if nothing had happened the night before. Clara returned from her morning workout, drenched in sweat. Go take a shower and then you can eat. I made your favorite sauerkraut buns, I said to her with a gentle smile. It was the day I planned to put a final punctuation mark on our marriage, and I wanted it to be as smooth and complete as possible. Last night she had faced my coldness. Today she was met with my warmth, which left Clara in a slight daze, but she quickly responded, Okay. She didn't like my cold stare from the other day. Now, seeing me acting like this was the Leo she knew. Clara finished her shower, drying her hair as she came out. So, where do you want to go today? Can you finally tell me now? Just as I was about to speak, Simon burst in from outside. Clara, something's wrong. Sam has a high fever and just passed out. He's really burning up. Can you please come and check on him? Simon choked out, his voice frantic. What? How did this happen? Wasn't he fine yesterday? Clara asked, her voice growing anxious. Hearing this, my own eyes dimmed. So, before Clara came home yesterday, she had stopped by Simon's place to see him and his son. This woman? She really had the nerve to live a double life. I don't know. Maybe he caught a chill and didn't cover up properly last night. I'm so afraid this fever might cause permanent damage, Simon continued, his voice cracking. Hearing this, Clara threw down her towel and said, Let's go. I'll come with you to check on him. Clara, what did you promise me last night? I calmly interrupted, as she was about to leave. She turned back to look at me. I was sitting at the table, watching her quietly. The room was dimly lit, but Clara could still see the coldness in my eyes. She felt a knot of tension in her stomach, remembering her promise that unless it was an absolute emergency, she would be with me today, no matter what. I had even specifically asked, what if Simon came to her? She had dismissed it as impossible and accused me of being unreasonable. Now, my cold, mocking gaze cut deep, leaving Clara feeling deeply embarrassed. How could this exact scenario happen right after she had promised it wouldn't? Seeing her hesitate, Simon pleaded, clinging to her arm. Clara, I know I shouldn't be bothering you, but I'm really scared Sam's fever will cause lasting damage. Please, just come and check on him. Leo, I know this is my fault, but this time it's a real emergency. I promise I'll never bother you again after this. Leo, a life is at stake. I have to go check on Sam. Wait for me. Once I know he's okay, I'll come right back to you, Clara muttered, driven anxious by Simon's panic, afraid something terrible might happen to Sam. Then she hurriedly left with him. Watching them go, I felt a familiar sting in my chest. I numbly picked up a bun from the plate and began to eat it slowly. It was no big deal. This wasn't the first time Clara had left me behind for someone else. I was used to it by now. Clara, the thorn that had been lodged in my heart for so long. One day I would remove her completely, so she could no longer cause me any pain. After breakfast, I waited for Clara at home until 9 o'clock. When she didn't return on time, I stopped waiting and left on my own. I wasn't going to change my plans for someone who wasn't worth it. If Clara didn't want to go with me, I would go alone. I could say goodbye to this marriage by myself. I was strolling through the park, a candy apple in hand, when a small body suddenly bumped into me. I regained my balance and instinctively caught the child who had run into me. I was surprised when I saw who it was. "Sam, what are you doing here?" "It's none of your business, you bad man who's trying to steal my mom," Sam taunted, pulling a face at me before running away. I frowned, watching him run off, and instinctively began to follow him. Didn't Simon say the kid was burning up with a fever and had passed out? Why was he here, playing in the park? Following Sam, I soon found myself in the children's playground area. It was a bustling paradise for kids, with parents scattered around watching their children play. I spotted Clara and Simon talking behind a large tree. I scoffed, my heart filling with a rising tide of anger. So the child was supposedly burning with a fever, when in fact, I was the one being played for a fool. I approached them quickly, hearing their conversation as I got closer. "Clara, I'm so sorry for causing more trouble for you today. I didn't expect Sam to wake up and insist on coming to the park. You didn't get to go back to Leo. Is he upset with you?" Simon asked. "It's fine, he won't be mad," Clara replied distractedly, glancing down at her watch. She was wondering what I might be doing and if I was angry at her. The old Leo wouldn't hold a grudge. She was sure she could easily cheer him up. But she wasn't so sure about the Leo of today. In that moment, I felt like the biggest fool in the world. The urge to confront them, to scream at them, vanished completely. I turned around and walked away quickly. She wasn't worth any more of my time or my emotions. With Simon leading her in the opposite direction, Clara was drifting further and further away from me. That night, when Clara came home, she found me waiting for her. A document lay on the table in front of me. "Leo, I'm sorry about today," she began to explain. "No need to apologize. Sit down. There's something I need to discuss with you," I said. "What is it?" she asked reflexively. I began, only to have Clara cut me off. "We are not getting a divorce. I will not agree to leave you, Leo. Stop bringing it up." Her voice was firm. She recalled the last time I had spoken to her about a divorce, which was also because of Simon and Sam. Today she had ditched our plans for them, and she knew I was definitely angry. She assumed I was going to bring up divorce again, which really annoyed her. I couldn't quite understand why Clara was so persistent about not getting a divorce. I mean, she obviously had strong feelings for Simon. What did I have that was making her want to stay? "Why not? Don't you like Simon? If we get a divorce, I'll step aside so you two can be together. Isn't that a better outcome for everyone?" I asked, genuinely confused. To me, being with someone you like and breaking up if you don't was the simplest way to handle relationships. I couldn't wrap my head around Clara's behavior, being so close to Simon while refusing to end her marriage to me. "Who said I liked Simon? I don't like him," Clara snapped coldly. But before she could finish her sentence, there was another knock at the door. Then came Simon's voice. "Clara, Sam just had a little accident. He twisted his ankle and banged his head. There's blood everywhere. Can you help me take him to the nurse's office?" Simon sounded both shocked and worried. The moment Clara heard this, her cold demeanor instantly changed to one of concern, and she rushed to open the door for Simon. I stood there, my eyes darkening, feeling a familiar ache in my chest. I hadn't yet fully removed Clara from my heart, so watching her with Simon still hurt. As soon as the door opened, Simon threw his arms around Clara, hugging her tightly. "I was so scared for Sam," he said, his voice muffled against her shoulder. Caught off guard by the hug, Clara instinctively looked back at me. I was watching her with a cold, unblinking stare. Feeling cornered, she realized Simon still had his arms wrapped around her. A wave of panic hit her as she pushed him away. "Don't worry, Simon. I'll go with you to check on Sam," she said softly. "Sure thing," I said nonchalantly. "But sign these papers for me first. I need them by tomorrow morning." "Leo, are you seriously pushing me to sign papers right now? You think a signature is more important than Sam's safety?" Clara snapped, looking like she wanted to smack the documents right out of my hands. She didn't even know what they were about. She was just upset at my coldness. I was quick on my feet and pulled the papers back before she could touch them. "It'll just take a few seconds. Sign them, and you're free to go. Or would you rather stay here with me?" With an almost mocking smile, I added, "Believe it or not, if I didn't want you to leave, you wouldn't be able to." I had been out of active duty for 3 years, but I had never stopped training. It wasn't just an empty threat. I could keep her here if I really wanted to. "Leo, you—" Clara was furious. Simon gently urged her. "Clara, just sign them for Leo. Maybe it's something urgent. It won't take long, don't worry." Clara looked at the understanding Simon, then back at me, who was glaring at her. "See how considerate Simon is? He's nothing like you," she said loudly. Unfazed, I held out the papers and a pen. "Sign." Fuming, Clara scribbled her name down and glared at me. "Happy now?" "All good, you can go," I said calmly, reaching for the pen. "Leo, I'm so disappointed in you." She threw the pen to the floor, grabbed Simon, and stormed out. I glanced down at the pen, which had broken in 2. I felt a pang in my heart. Clara had given me that pen as a token of our relationship. I had taken meticulous care of it for years. It was precious to me, but now, to her, it was nothing. I stared at it for a long moment before eventually leaving it there, shutting the door, and heading back to bed. The next day when I got up, Clara was nowhere to be seen. I didn't let it bother me. I took the divorce papers she had signed and went straight to Mark's office. Mark processed them right away, stamping them without any issues. When I held the official divorce certificate in my hand, it felt a bit unreal. The past 3 years felt like a dream I had woven for myself, sweet at first, then turning bitter. Now that I had woken up, it was time to move on. "Mark, could you give Clara her copy of this after I'm gone?" I asked. "Sure. By the way, your mother called me, checking in on you. I told her about your new assignment. You should really go see them before you leave." "They were so worried about you back then," Mark sighed, recalling how I had cut all ties with my family to be with Clara. I had truly stayed away all those years. My father had to rely on Mark just to get any news about me, which was a sad state of affairs. "I will. I'll go today," I said quietly, my voice almost breaking. After leaving Mark's office, I went back to the apartment, packed the last of my things, and bought a ticket at the station to head home. My hometown was just an hour and a half away by train. I hadn't visited in all these years, simply because Clara disliked it. This short trip home had taken me 3 years to finally begin. Today, nothing would stop me from going back. I headed home with a firm heart, but as I stood on the doorstep of my childhood home, I suddenly felt nervous. I hesitated to knock. "What's this? Running away again?" A stern and cold voice startled me. I quickly turned around and saw my mother, whom I hadn't seen in 3 long years. She was standing there, looking at me with a cold expression. "Mom," I whispered softly. My mother, Helen, let out a non-committal hum, stepped past me, and opened the front door. She didn't explicitly ask me in, but she didn't close the door either. It was an unspoken invitation to enter if I chose to. I braced myself and followed her inside. "You're back. Perfect timing," my father was saying as he saw me, dropping the spatula he was holding with a clatter. "Leo, is that really you?" my father mumbled in disbelief. "Dad." Seeing him, I couldn't hold back my emotions any longer. I dropped my bags and rushed to hug him. "Leo, my boy, you're finally back. Way." My dad hugged me back tightly, bursting into tears. "You heartless kid. You said you wouldn't come back. And you really didn't. I thought I would never see you again before I passed on," he cried, patting my back. Listening to my dad's complaints filled me with an overwhelming sense of guilt, like a big hole had been carved out of my heart, making it feel cold and empty inside. For the past 3 years, I had been chasing a so-called love, completely neglecting the family who had always loved me unconditionally. But now, I had realized my mistake and decided to return. Helen, watching her son and husband sob, teared up as well. After a moment of hesitation, she wrapped her arms around the 2 most important men in her life in a group hug. "All right, that's enough crying. With all this noise, the neighbors might come knocking soon." Feeling her touch, I froze for a second, then started crying even harder. I had thought my mom would never forgive me, but they were just waiting for me to turn back. I realized too late how stupid I had been. After the family had cried it all out, we gathered around the dinner table, red-eyed to eat. "Leo, how long are you staying this time? And didn't Clara come back with you?" my dad asked over dinner. At the mention of Clara's name, my dad's expression shifted slightly. He had never liked the woman who had taken his son away from him and made him cut ties with his own family. But his son loved her. For 3 years I had left my family for her, and though he didn't like it, he had accepted it. He didn't want me to leave again because of her. "Just for a few days. Then I have to leave for a mission. Dad, I divorced her. Let's not bring her up anymore," I said casually. My father was shocked, about to ask more, but my mother interrupted, slamming her hand on the table. "Good riddance. She was never worthy of you." My dad gave her an irritated look. "Don't make things worse." Then he turned back to me. "You really divorced her? Are you sure about this? Marriage and divorce aren't games, you know. You left us for her, and after only 3 years, you want a divorce? Are you going to regret this?" I nodded slightly. "Yes, Dad, I'm sure. Mark approved my divorce papers, and I have the certificate to prove it. Dad, I was foolish for these past 3 years, and I hurt you both deeply. I won't make that same mistake again. No woman will ever be more important than my family." "Dad, Mom, I promise I won't leave you again for someone who isn't worth it," I said, my eyes red. Seeing how upset I was, my dad reached over and gently patted my back. "Okay, son. Whatever you decide, as long as you're happy, I will support you," he said without a moment's hesitation. I focused on my meal, replying quietly. I regretted giving up on the ones who truly loved me for a woman like Clara. Luckily, I realized my mistake before it was too late. From now on, I wouldn't disappoint my family. After dinner, my mother called me into the study for a private chat. "You've really decided to join that special project?" she asked. "Yes, Mom. I'm sorry for leaving again so soon," I said, feeling guilty for not being able to stay longer. "Joining an important mission for the country is something to be proud of. That's my son, not some fool obsessed with a woman. That's much worse," Helen replied dismissively. I knew she was right. For 3 years, I had been like a love-obsessed fool. "You really divorced Clara? Is there nothing that can change that?" she asked. "Yes, it was finalized today. Here's the certificate," I said, handing her the document. Helen took it, inspecting it seriously. You don't mind, do you? I mean, me getting a divorce, I joked. In those days, divorce was still relatively rare and often seen as shameful, especially for the women involved. Divorce was often criticized, and reconciliation was heavily promoted. Please, I wish you had woken up and done this sooner. That girl was nothing but trouble, with bad intentions from the start. I never liked her. I wouldn't have given her a second glance if you hadn't insisted on marrying her, Helen said with clear disdain in her voice. Hearing this, I seemed to fall deep in thought. My mother, a straightforward and kind person, wasn't someone who was stubborn or overbearing. I had never seen her express such obvious dislike for anyone before. I sensed that this wasn't just about me and Clara. There was more to the story. Mom, why do you dislike Clara so much? Is there something I'm missing here? I couldn't figure it out, so I just asked her directly. Yes, there is. Since you're divorced now anyway, I might as well tell you the whole story. You only know that you gave up a promotion 3 years ago. What you don't know is that Clara was your main competitor for that position. The military was choosing one of you to groom for a leadership role, and your chances were much better than hers. That girl somehow got wind of it. She knew she couldn't compete with you based on ability, so she used her charm to get to you, and you fell for it completely. You got played, just like that. And what's worse, she can't have children. But to save face, she told everyone that you were the one who needed treatment. We wanted to call her out on her lies, but you defended her, accusing us of slandering her. This information was confidential, so I couldn't say anything more at the time. No matter how much I tried to persuade you, you wouldn't listen, and I had to just stand by and watch you get tricked by her. It still makes me angry just thinking about it, Helen vented. As she spoke, I felt my face grow darker and darker. She noticed and got worried. Son, are you okay? Are you all right? She asked cautiously, a bit remorseful. She realized that telling me all of this was like saying my entire marriage to Clara was just a calculated manipulation. Mom, I'm fine. I'm really okay. In fact, I've never felt better, I said, forcing a smile. I had thought my relationship with Clara was just a natural progression of feelings, but now I realized it was all part of her elaborate plan. This was even more nauseating than her rekindling things with an old flame and abandoning our marriage, because it meant that our relationship was a complete sham from the very beginning. My love and dedication for 3 years, both before and after the wedding, were just a big, cruel joke. Understanding Clara's true colors, I felt no remaining attachments or affection for her. The thought of her now only made me sick to my stomach. I stayed at home for a week, spending quality time with my parents. During this time, I didn't think about Clara at all. On the last day, my mom drove me back to the base, where I was to join Mark's team before heading to the mission site. Helen felt a mixture of reluctance and solemnity. This task was dangerous, but completing it would be hugely beneficial for the country. Leo, since you've chosen this path, you must do it with everything you've got, even if it means risking your life. I will, Mom. You and Dad take care of yourselves. I'll keep myself safe and make you proud when I come back, I replied earnestly. Okay, I trust you. Your dad and I will be waiting for you at home, Helen said, waving me off with a smile. I got into the car. As we drove away, I thought I saw Clara's figure flit by outside the window. I wasn't sure if I had really seen her, and I didn't bother to look back. Clara was history. I was ready to move on and embrace my own life anew. Clara did see my car, but she didn't see me, although she did spot my mother. Seeing Helen at the military zone was unexpected. Always intimidated by her formidable mother-in-law, Clara instinctively hid when she saw Helen's car, not daring to approach. She watched as Helen got in, and the car departed. Then she stepped out from her hiding spot, puzzled. "Chief, Clara is behind us," the driver mentioned, having spotted her in the rearview mirror. Helen glanced back. "Ignore her," she said coolly. "That girl schemed to steal Leo from us. It's no surprise she's avoiding me. Of course she feels guilty." Helen had never approved of Clara's relationship with me, and now that we were divorced, she was even less inclined to engage with her. That night, Clara returned home after work, but I was nowhere to be seen. The place was eerily empty, like an unused house. A wave of unease washed over her. "Leo! Leo!" she called out, rushing into the bedroom to look for me. But I wasn't there. Not even our wedding picture was on the wall. Panic began to rise within her. The last time she had stood me up because Sam had supposedly fallen ill, pulling her away from our plans. That night we had argued over my demand for a divorce, with Simon also in the mix. She hadn't been back in a week, wanting to give me time to cool off and to show me that she wasn't desperate. But she hadn't considered that 1 week away would leave the house feeling completely abandoned, without a single hint of home left. She hurried to the closet, and her face went pale. Only her clothes remained. There was nothing of mine left. It was as if I had vanished, leaving no trace behind. Her mind buzzed as she stood there, clueless about what to do next. After a moment, she remembered something, took big steps out of her house, and knocked on the door next door. "Maria, are you home?" Clara called out. Someone inside heard the commotion and opened the door. "Clara, what's going on? You look terrible," Greg said as he opened the door, looking surprised. "Greg, is your wife home? I need to talk to her," Clara asked, clenching her fists. "Yeah, she's inside. Let me take you in." As soon as Greg spoke, Clara brushed past him and quickly headed inside. Greg followed her with a frown and heard Clara questioning his wife. "Sis, have you seen my husband, Leo, in the past few days?" "I haven't. Leo is your husband. Why are you asking me?" Maria said coldly. "But you live right next door to us. You would have noticed if he was coming and going. I've been out on a mission for the past few days, and when I got home today, I found all of Leo's things were gone. I'm worried something might have happened to him. If you've seen him, please tell me," Clara said, seeming desperate to find out where I was. Seeing her like this, Maria's disdain turned to anger. "Now you're worried because he's gone. Where were you before? His things are gone because he must have taken them himself. And you're worried about something happening to him? What could possibly happen to Leo? Stop jinxing it." Clara immediately pressed. "Do you know something? Did Leo tell you anything?" She grew more assertive, which intimidated Maria a bit. Greg stepped between them and said, "Clara, let's talk this over calmly." Maria, now more composed, peeked out from behind Greg and retorted, "Leo didn't say a word to me. I'm just guessing. He gave me a bunch of his things, saying they were useless to him now, and that I could take them if I didn't mind. They were all household items, well kept, practically brand new. Why wouldn't he need them anymore? He must be broken-hearted over you and that Simon fellow, so he decided to leave, taking all his stuff with him." Her words hit Clara like a physical blow. Her face changed instantly. She had noticed before that some things were missing from around the house. She remembered asking me about it. "Why are so many things gone? Where did they go?" I had replied, "I just packed them away since we weren't using them. Leaving them out was just making the place messy." She had thought my reasoning made sense at the time and hadn't asked any more questions. It turned out that I had already decided back then to leave her. In that moment, Clara felt like her heart was being twisted in a knot. Her face grew even more pale. Knowing she wouldn't get any more useful information from them, she turned to leave. From behind her, she heard Maria muttering, "Didn't appreciate what she had. Flirting with that Simon so shamelessly. And now she's acting all heartbroken since Leo is gone. Disgusting." Enough. Just mind your own business. Greg tried to calm her down. Clara, feeling disoriented, thought, so that's how other people see me and Simon? No wonder I had misunderstood her relationship with him. No wonder I had made such a fuss. So it really was her mistake all along. But she hadn't meant to do anything wrong. She had only thought she was helping Simon, since his wife had just passed away. Who knew that her help would end up costing her her own family? If she had known, she never would have done it. But now, it was too late to say anything. Clara returned home to a house that felt hollow without me, and felt an intense ache in her heart. She skipped dinner. She had no appetite. After a quick mechanical tidying up, she lay down in bed, clutching my pillow, her heart in pieces. She had never thought there would come a day when I might actually leave her. She had always assumed we would be together forever. In the next moment, she opened her eyes with a newfound determination. I had left because I misunderstood her relationship with Simon. Once she found me and explained everything, I would surely forgive her, come back home, and return to her side. Thinking this, her heart eased a little. With the hope of getting me back, her numbing heart found some small comfort. She hugged my pillow, tossing and turning, and had barely drifted into a light sleep when there was another knock at the door. Clara snapped her eyes open. "Clara, Sam's fever has come back, and he's crying for you. Could you come with me to check on him?" She heard Simon's voice from outside, sounding anxious. In the past, Clara would have already been out the door. But this time she sat up sharply, looked around the empty, dark room, and felt her worry begin to dissolve. Helping Simon had driven me away. Could she really keep doing this? Clara hesitated. By the moonlight streaming through the window, she checked the time on her watch. 9 in the evening. Time for bed. Almost every time Simon came to her, it was at this hour, and always with the same reason: Sam wasn't well. Either he had a cold, a fever, had hurt his foot, or had fallen and hit his head. Sam never seemed to be well. He was always sick or hurt. Simon was still outside, calling for her anxiously, pleading. Clara felt anxious too, and was just about to throw off her covers and go when she heard Maria's angry shout from next door. "Did someone die in your house? Enough with the wailing, it's annoying." Clara stopped what she was doing, hearing Simon say with a quiver in his voice, "I'm so sorry, sis-in-law. Sam's got a fever, and I'm really worried." "If the kid's got a fever, then just go see a doctor. Clara isn't a doctor, so why are you always bothering her? It's sad that you lost your wife, but you can't just cling to Clara, split up a couple's marriage, and steal Leo's wife, can you?" Thomas quickly objected. "I didn't mean it like that, sis-in-law. I'm just better friends with Clara, so I thought of asking her for help. "Oh, shut up already. Clara might not see through your tricks, but I sure can. You're just playing the victim to charm Clara into being your next wife, right? What a shameless guy. Leo is a good man for not calling you out. But I'm not having it. They're not home, so stop shouting. And if you keep showing your face around here, I'll chase you out with a broom," Maria said before slamming her door shut. Thomas muttered under his breath. "Nosy old lady. Sticking her nose where it doesn't belong. Wasn't she back? How can she not be home?" he mumbled, and reluctantly left. Clara stood behind her door, chills running down her spine. So he knew she was home and had come specifically to drag her out? Clara quickly dressed and silently followed Simon back to his place. It was a run-down, isolated house with no neighbors nearby. The closest house was over 500 meters away, so whenever Simon had called in the past, she would rush over to help. She had feared for him being all alone with his kid in such an isolated place. But now, she was starting to put 2 and 2 together. Even with the closest neighbor 500 meters away, they were still nearer than where she lived. The details she had overlooked before were now glaringly obvious. Olivia crept in from a corner, hiding in the shadows. "Dad, where's Auntie? Didn't she come?" Sam asked. No, she's not home. Now stop pretending. Drink some hot water and go to bed. Don't really catch a cold and make it worse, Simon said impatiently. Okay, Dad, Sam said, slowly crawling into bed and wrapping himself with the covers. Don't get too close. You're like an ice block. Stay on your own side, Simon complained. Okay, Dad. Sam obediently moved further away. The already narrow blanket left part of his back exposed by his shifting. He lay flat, carefully tucking the edge of the blanket under himself before closing his eyes to sleep. Clara watched from the shadows, feeling chilled to the bone. No wonder Sam was always sick. She had thought he was just a sickly child, never realizing that this was all a trick they were both playing on her. She was a total fool, losing the man who adored her because of these two. How incredibly stupid had she been? Olivia felt her eyes well up with tears. In a daze, Olivia made her way back home. The empty house filled her with a wave of regret so vast it felt like it was drowning her. Leo, I'm such a fool. I let them deceive me, I disappointed you, and I ruined our marriage. It's all my fault. I deserve everything I get, she muttered to herself, slapping her own cheeks as tears spilled from her eyes. Leo, I'm so sorry. I'll explain everything to you. I have nothing to do with Simon. You'll forgive me, right? You have to forgive me, right? Worried and restless, Clara spent a sleepless night. The next morning she wanted to go and find me right away. But before she could leave, she was called to Mark's office by one of the guards. Mark, is there a new task for me? She asked upon entering. No, but there's something for you, Mark said, pulling a document from his drawer and handing it to her. Her mind was elsewhere, preoccupied with thinking about how to apologize to me and win me back. Clara froze when she saw the divorce papers. Her name and my name on the document cut through her like a knife. Mark, I didn't file for divorce. How could I possibly divorce Leo? This must be fake, right? She asked in disbelief. Leo personally filed the divorce papers. Both of your signatures are on it, and everything is legal and proper. It's real, Mark said matter-of-factly. Clara remembered the document I had insisted she sign. Simon had said Sam's fever wouldn't break, which had worried her to the point of distraction. She had signed it in a rush when I had blocked her path, not even glancing at what it was. So she had unknowingly signed the divorce papers I had prepared. Mark, it doesn't count. I don't agree to the divorce. He tricked me into signing it. I didn't even know what it was, she pleaded. This is a matter between you two, not my business. As long as the divorce is legally processed, it is valid. Clara, you're a leader. Don't say such foolish things, Mark said sternly. Mark, you know where Leo is, don't you? Please, just tell me. Let me go after him and win him back, Clara pleaded. Mark glanced at her. He valued this capable young subordinate, but he sighed and said, Leo got involved in a top-secret operation, and honestly, I have no idea where he is now. It's clear that your divorce from him is inevitable. You need to face the facts and move on. I have a meeting to get to. I'm giving you the day off. Take some time to calm down and take care of yourself, Mark said as he stood up, gave her shoulder a gentle pat, and left. Clara hung her head low, her fists clenched tight. When she looked up, her eyes were red, filled with a stubborn determination. Leo, I won't give up. I will find you. I, on the other hand, had no clue how regretful Clara was feeling. I had been pulled into the mountains for a period of intense training that was so exhausting. There were moments where even lifting a finger felt like an impossible task. My days were spent giving my absolute all during training and squeezing in sleep whenever and wherever I could. I barely had a moment to think about Clara. With each grueling training session, a few among our group couldn't keep up and were eliminated. But I got sharper and more physically fit, thanks to the demanding exercises. Finally, I and 5 others made the final cut for a special mission team. I was appointed as the team captain. We were sent to another, more remote base to meet the mission's top-secret member, the person we had to protect at all costs. I was surprised to see it was someone I knew well. It was Rachel, my former mentor and guide. She had once led me as a rookie, teaching me countless skills that had saved my life more than once. Our colleagues used to joke that we were like an unbeatable duo. Together, we could conquer anything, and apart, we still shone independently. She was quiet, reserved, and never smiled. Colder even than Clara. If Clara were a block of ice, Rachel would be an ever-frozen iceberg hard to approach. Back when I had fallen for Clara and insisted on leaving my post to marry her, I had cut ties with Rachel. 3 years had passed, and she looked exactly the same as she did back then, unchanged. After we locked eyes for a long moment, I smiled and said, "Long time no see, mentor." The usually distant woman seemed unexpectedly affected. She strode over and pulled me into a firm hug. The hug caught me off guard, leaving me momentarily stunned. Before I could pull away, I heard her whisper in my ear, "Leo, welcome home." That single line brought unexpected tears to my eyes. Rachel was an expert in weapons research, and I had been her sharpest operative. Every time new foreign weapons emerged, I would infiltrate enemy lines as part of a special ops team to get a hold of them for her to analyze. I would do it however I could. Whether by stealing or direct confrontation, I would always ensure I completed the mission. If all else failed, I would rely on my combat experiences, risking my life to memorize crucial weapon data and bring it back for her to reconstruct and study. During her research phase, I would be her test subject, always collaborating with her to accurately replicate battlefield conditions. Thanks to our seamless teamwork, we were known as the unbeatable duo. Our research facility used to be my home. Leaving for Clara had cost me 3 years, but now I was back on my original path. That "welcome home" hit me right in the feels. I held Rachel tight, scared to say a word, afraid she would hear the quiver in my voice. I didn't want to sound weak. "Why are you crying? Did something happen to you over these past 3 years?" Despite my tears soaking her uniform, Rachel noticed and pushed me slightly back. Her eyes narrowed with concern. Ever since she had known I liked Clara, Rachel's heart had felt barren. For the 3 years I was with Clara, she had buried herself in her experiments, numbing the sting with work, not daring to ask about me. Seeing me again, she couldn't resist hugging me. In a crowded place, an embrace of friendship seemed appropriate and was unlikely to affect me. But she hadn't anticipated my tears. My throat was too tight for words. "Hey, go get everyone settled in. I need to have a private chat with Leo," Rachel instructed one of the other officers before leading me to her office. She had me sit down, then poured me a glass of water. She remained silent, just sitting quietly beside me. I wasn't the type to wallow for long. The same way I had decisively ended my 3-year relationship with Clara, I soon stopped crying on my own. My eyes were still red as I glanced over at Rachel, offering a sheepish smile. "Sorry, mentor. We reunite after so long, and instead of catching up, you had to endure my tearful spectacle." Rachel's face was still stern as she said, "Why are you on this mission? Did that woman upset you?" Her words were a question, though her heart already knew the answer. It had to be that. Otherwise, knowing me, I would never be reduced to tears. "Yeah, some things happened that made me wake up. But volunteering for this mission was my own decision, not driven by the issues over there." "Are you stupid? You can't even speak up for yourself when you're upset. I'm not dead yet, you know," Rachel scolded, her expression cold. Though she had deliberately distanced herself to avoid following my life, she knew that if I had reached out for help, she would have stepped in for me. Her avoidance was also born of fear. She was afraid that her own dark emotions might make her do something that I would resent her for. She hadn't realized that her absence had left me feeling so wronged. If she had known, she definitely wouldn't have let me suffer. Ah, the senior sister is indeed the senior sister. As soon as she speaks, she hits me hard with her words, making me quickly recall the feelings and the state of being I had around her before. I looked at her with a resigned expression and said, "Senior sister, don't say that. Who starts a conversation by talking about their own death? And besides, it wasn't all bad these past 3 years. For over 2 years, we were doing great. It was actually very sweet. Our relationship only started changing in the last few months." "So you just let yourself suffer for a few months, and you still don't think you're foolish?" Rachel frowned deeply. Hearing that I had been doing well and was happy, her heart felt like it was being stabbed, but at the same time, she was also relieved. As long as I was happy, it didn't matter what happened to her. But when she heard that I had suffered for months, she nearly exploded with anger. "Yeah, it was kind of dumb, so I cut my losses in time." I knew Rachel's harsh tone came from her genuine concern for me, not because she actually looked down on me, so I didn't mind. I said, "I've divorced her." "What? You got divorced?" Rachel stood up, a rare display of being out of sorts. Her fists clenched as she looked at me with utter shock. I wasn't sure if it was just an illusion, but I felt like Rachel's eyes had suddenly gotten brighter. I got divorced. Could it be that it was some great, happy news for her or something? "Yes, I didn't want to waste any more energy on someone unworthy, so I divorced her," I said casually. "So, senior sister, I might need your guidance again in the future," I added with a light smile. "All right, got it. You can go for now. I'll have someone take you to your dorm. I have some things to attend to. I'll come find you after I'm done," Rachel said. "Okay." I thought she actually had important work to do and agreed immediately. Once I had left, Rachel closed the door to her office. Usually she could stay calm even if the sky were falling, but now she paced her office like a headless chicken. If someone else had been in the room, they would have heard her murmuring to herself. "Divorced. Good. Divorced means there's hope for me. With Leo's personality, he surely won't be thinking about romance for a while. I can't be too forward, or I might scare him away. But I can't be too aloof either, or I'll wait and wait. And then he might run off with someone else. What on earth should I do?" Rachel's head ached. I, of course, had no idea about Rachel's current dilemma. I followed the person Rachel had sent and went to my new dorm. The room was extremely tidy, with nothing but a bed, a table, and a chair. There wasn't a single extra item in sight. I made the bed, fixed the blanket, pulled out some fresh clothes to change into from my luggage, took a shower, and then lay down to sleep. A couple of days later, I set off on the mission with my team, with protecting Rachel as our primary objective along the way. I really didn't want Rachel to come on the mission with us, but I couldn't out-stubborn her. Rachel was my superior officer and the top commander of this mission, so I couldn't disobey her direct orders. "Don't be mad. It's not like I want to cause trouble. This new weapon is unique, and I have to be there in person to gather complete data," Rachel explained, seeing the frown on my face. "My team and I will do everything in our power to keep you safe," I said. Rachel must not come to any harm. That was my and my team's mission, with the utmost priority. Even if it meant risking our own lives, we had to protect her. "Don't stress so much. Don't forget who taught you all those skills at the start," Rachel reminded me. I was taken aback for a moment before I realized what she meant. Rachel wasn't just some researcher holed up in a lab, unable to fend for herself. Her combat skills were also incredibly strong. She used to personally go into battle herself. But her talents in research were so exceptional that those in charge were afraid of anything happening to her, and thus they had formed a data reconnaissance team specifically for her. And, as luck would have it, I was a perfect fit as a team member to help gather data for her research without her having to go into battle directly. That's why she had stayed behind the scenes all these years. In other words, her own combat abilities were quite high. While I felt a slight sense of relief, I still felt burdened by the responsibility. I said, "Regardless, you are not allowed to get hurt." "Don't worry, I won't get hurt," Rachel reassured me, ruffling my hair. I scowled at her. "I mean it. And don't scowl at your young age. You'll look like a little old man," Rachel said nonchalantly. My team and I were all well-trained elites, highly sensitive to and familiar with weapon parameters. With Rachel, who was an expert herself, the mission still encountered unexpected situations. Rachel and I got separated from the rest of the team. The two of us weaved through the dense forest, trying to shake off the pursuers who were hot on our trail. Our pursuers didn't give up, and multiple gunfights broke out as we chased and fled. Our ammunition ran low quickly. We exchanged a look, understanding the message without needing to speak a word. If we ran out of ammo, we would have to resort to hand-to-hand combat. Like specters, we both found positions to hide. With perfect teamwork, we finally eliminated our pursuers one by one. I took down the last foe, blood splattering across my face as I drew out my combat knife. I didn't care, and simply wiped it away with the back of my hand, looking up to smile at Rachel. "Finally done with them." "Great job, Leo," Rachel praised. But then her tall figure seemed to lose all its strength, collapsing suddenly. I was startled, hurrying to catch her before she hit the ground. "Senior sister, are you okay?" I asked in a panic, keeping my voice low, knowing there might still be stragglers in the area. But as I held her, I already knew what was wrong. My hand on her back came away covered in blood. My eyes widened as I recalled an earlier scene. We had only a few bullets left before, during the peak of the pursuit from the enemy. I had just dodged a bullet and taken out a foe when Rachel had suddenly hugged me from behind. I heard a gunshot at the same time as I heard her give a muffled grunt. I had quickly asked, "Senior sister, did you get shot?" "No, I just accidentally stepped on a rock," she had said. "Let me take a look," I had insisted, worried. "No need, I'm fine. We have to go or they'll catch up with us," Rachel had replied. In the urgency of the moment, I had believed her and let her pull me along. Looking back now, I realized she must have taken a bullet for me back then. She had denied it, and I had totally bought it. I couldn't be more oblivious. My mission was to protect her. Yet not only had I failed, but she had risked her own life for me. I felt wretched. I was full of regret, but regretting it now wouldn't help. I quickly carried Rachel on my back, seeking a safe cave to lie low. I found one and carefully carried her inside. Once Rachel was settled, and I was certain there was no immediate danger in the cave, I left to gather some wild berries and find a source of fresh water. With Rachel injured and unconscious, we would have to wait for help or for her to wake up before planning our next move. I started a small, controlled fire in the cave, and then checked Rachel's wound. The bullet was still lodged in her body. I heated my knife in the fire to disinfect it, found some hemostatic powder and bandages in my bag, and then carefully extracted the bullet, applied the powder, and bandaged her wound as best I could. Even though I was especially cautious, Rachel still developed a fever during the night. I heard her talking in her sleep. "Leo, don't like her. She's not worth it," Rachel mumbled. I could only muster a bitter laugh. It seemed like everyone around me knew Clara wasn't worth it, except for me, who had stupidly thought she was the best thing in the world and had given up everything for her. "Leo, I'm right beside you. Why would you rather like her than even glance at me?" Rachel murmured again. I was shocked by her words. Was that what she really meant? As she continued to mumble in her sleep, I started piecing things together. I was stunned. Never in a million years had I thought that Rachel liked me. I couldn't believe it, feeling both rueful and surprised at the same time. That night I stayed awake until Rachel's fever finally broke, and only then did I slowly fall asleep. The next day, Rachel woke up. She looked pale and tired, but managed to give me a weak smile. Guess I'm getting old and useless, causing you all this trouble, she murmured. I shook my head. Don't say that, Senior. If it weren't for you taking that bullet for me, you wouldn't be hurt. It's all my fault. Silly, don't say that, Rachel replied, her eyes gentle, looking at me with a helpless expression. I recalled her fevered murmurs from the night before, and my gaze faltered. I couldn't meet her eyes and said, You rest here in the cave while I go find some food and scout the area. Maybe I'll find the others. Okay, be careful, and don't go too far, Rachel agreed. I confirmed with a nod and departed. Knowing that my senior had liked me for years but had been too shy to say it, and haunted by the regret of how we had missed each other, left me feeling complicated. I wasn't sure how to face Rachel now. Rachel watched me disappear from sight, her gaze thoughtful. The little guy seemed scared, too afraid to face her. It was lucky she had confessed her feelings during the fever, laying some groundwork. If she had told him up front, he might never want to see her again. While I was scouting, I found the rescue team that had been searching for us. I led them back to the cave to retrieve Rachel, and we all returned to the base together. Though everyone had sustained some injuries, the mission was ultimately a success. Once we were back, Rachel took only 2 days off before diving right back into documenting battlefield data and organizing a new research team. Leo, you need to go persuade Rachel. She's still hurt, but she's already buried herself in research work, someone suggested to me. I frowned. Really? It's only been a few days. Her wound hasn't even fully healed, and she's already overworking herself. This is ridiculous. I followed a guard to find Rachel. Senior, you've documented the data. Let the others handle the research. Come back and rest properly, I urged. I'm fine, Leo. I can handle it. Seeing my increasingly stern face, her voice softened. Her usual unemotional face showed a rare hint of guilt. With a sigh, she conceded, Okay, I'll go back and rest. I almost smiled at her demeanor. I kept my stern face and escorted Rachel back to her quarters. I didn't expect to run into Clara at the dorm entrance. It had been over a year since I had last seen her. She looked thinner, and her spirit wasn't what it used to be. Seeing me, Clara's face brightened, and she walked toward me, calling out, Leo! Hearing her call my name, I recalled the conversation between her and Simon I had overheard, and I felt a flash of disgust. Don't call me Leo. It makes me sick, I said coldly. My icy tone froze Clara in her tracks. She looked at me, her lips moving, but she seemed unsure of what to say. Haven't you already divorced Leo? Why are you looking for him again? Rachel asked coolly. Our matters are not your concern, Clara replied, wary. I might be clueless, but she knew well enough that my senior liked me. In the past, she wouldn't have considered it a problem. My heart had belonged to her, after all. But now, she couldn't help but be cautious. After all, she still hadn't managed to calm me down or make me change my mind about our divorce. Rachel was annoyed and wanted to say something more, but I stopped her. Sister, you go back to your room and rest. I'll talk with her, I said. You're still going to talk to her? You two are divorced. What's there to talk about? Rachel was fuming. Her emotions were rarely out of control, but now her eyes were red and her brow was furrowed, her whole aura screaming displeasure. It was the first time I had ever seen her like this, and oddly enough, I found it interesting. I softly said, We still need some closure. Rachel wasn't happy about it, but she couldn't really stop me. She gave a sarcastic hum. Whatever, it's not like I have the right to intervene. And she marched off, slamming the door behind her. Clearly, she was throwing a tantrum. I had never seen this childish side of Rachel before and found it rather amusing. Clara noticed the little smile on my lips and was startled. She glanced at the closed door, feeling uneasy. Leo, we need to talk, Clara said as she stepped forward. instinctively reaching out to grab my hand. I quickly stepped back, avoiding her touch. Clara's hand came up empty, and her eyes darkened. The sense of losing me was so strong it made her face go pale, and her heart ache even more. "Just say what you have to say. There's no need for any touching," I scolded, my eyes cold and severe. Clara looked at me sorrowfully, whispering, "Leo, you've changed. You weren't like this before. "I told you, don't call me Leo. It makes me sick," I interrupted, my expression full of disgust and rejection. Clara could see the genuine disgust in my eyes and was confused. Why? Why? Had I grown to the point where I couldn't even stand her saying my name? If I was that disgusted with her, how was she ever going to win back my heart? "Why? Really, Clara, don't you think that's a bit funny?" I sneered coldly. "I'm a person, not a stand-in. You couldn't get Simon, so after he got married, you decided to use me as a substitute? I've figured it all out, so you can stop pretending. It just makes me sick." My words hit her hard, leaving Clara stunned. Her face went ghostly pale as she tried to explain. "Leo, it wasn't like that. I never used you as some kind of stand-in. Please, just let me explain. Yes, I did have feelings for him once, but after he got married, I let it go. I married you because I genuinely care for you. Helping Simon was just because he lost his wife, and his wife used to be my best friend, so I might have done a little more than I should have. But I have absolutely no romantic feelings for Simon, Leo, believe me. I only care about you. Leo, don't leave me. Come back. And let's get remarried, okay?" Clara pleaded, sounding almost desperate. Since she had become a leader, everything had gone smoothly for Clara, and she hardly ever had to beg for anything like this. But now, she was setting aside all her pride and dignity just to win me back. Unfortunately, I wasn't moved by her desperation. My heart, instead, was filled with nothing but nausea and a strange sense of calm. The almost year-long separation had been more than enough time for me to move on from our past relationship. I had successfully dug Clara out of my heart. Now I wouldn't be hurt or saddened by her words or actions. I looked at her calmly. "You know me. Once I've made a decision, there's no going back. I will not remarry you. We were married for 3 years, and not once did I ever hear you say that you cared about me. Now, a year after our divorce, I'm finally hearing it, and it's nothing but ironic." Clara's face turned even paler, looking like she might fall apart at any moment. "Leo, I know I was wrong. I swear I will never interfere with Simon's life again. Can you not forgive me even for that? Leo, let's get remarried. I'll spend my entire life making it up to you." I couldn't get her to stop calling me by my name, so I just had to bear the irritation in silence. I shook my head seriously. "No, Clara, we're already divorced. I'm doing really well now, so please don't disturb my life anymore." Clara looked at me, and even if she didn't want to admit it, she had to face the fact that she might have really lost me. She had let go of the Leo who once had eyes only for her. Clara covered her face, her eyes stinging with unshed tears that were threatening to fall. "Just go, and please don't come back to bother me," I said flatly, unmoved by her obvious pain. Clara watched me, heartbroken, and finally managed a weak, watery smile, whispering a single word. "Okay?" "Leo, we were married for 3 years. Could you at least have one last meal with me? A breakup meal?" Olivia gently requested. I was about to refuse, but Clara added, "If you don't agree, I'll stay here and not leave." "Clara, are you crazy?" I snapped, unable to hold back my frustration any longer. "Just think of it as that. You know me, once I've spoken. I won't change my mind," Clara said, her expression strained, but her voice composed. Despite her paleness, she seemed to have regained some of her composure. My face darkened, but eventually I agreed. I didn't want any more trouble because of her. As we were about to leave, Rachel's door opened, and she stepped out. "Leo, I'm hungry. I want to eat," Rachel declared, her tone almost playful as she looked at me. Even though I thought she was being childish and ridiculous, I didn't really want to have dinner alone with Clara, so I nodded and said, "I'm about to grab some food. Do you want to come?" Clara, with a sour face, said, "Leo, a breakup dinner doesn't involve 3 people." Rachel chimed in casually, "I can sit at the next table." She was determined to have this meal one way or another. Clara wanted to object. I, irked, said, "Eat if you want to. If not, whatever." Clara didn't dare say anything more, just wore a sullen expression while following us outside. The 3 of us reached the door and were about to get in the car when Simon suddenly jumped out, blocking our way. Compared to a year ago, Simon seemed a lot older and more worn out. With red eyes, he glared at Clara and shouted, "I knew you couldn't let go of that jerk, Leo. And Leo, you've already divorced Clara and yet you still cling to her? Have you got no shame?" Simon glared menacingly at me. "Which eye of yours saw me clinging to her? She's the one who's been chasing after me, and this is my place." I rolled my eyes, shooting back unabashedly. Thomas got stuck on that, left speechless with bulging eyes. A year ago, Simon had been a brooding, handsome guy, but now he seemed to be heading toward the bitter, jilted husband vibe. "Leo, I have nothing to do with him. I don't even know why he's here. It wasn't me who called him," Clara hastily explained. She had hoped to make things up with me by inviting me for a meal, but with Simon showing up, things suddenly felt off. I hadn't forgiven her yet, and Simon popping up would only make things worse. I glanced at Clara, my face void of any expression. I wasn't angry at her. I was just tired of it all. I had moved on from that marriage, and I wasn't interested in going back. Bad relationships only brought me pain and suffering, and I wasn't into that. Yet these 2 seemed determined to thrust themselves into my face, which I found incredibly annoying. "He's here chasing after you, and you claim there's nothing between you 2? Who's going to believe that?" Rachel snorted. "Leo, don't fall for her sweet talk. Some people are two-faced, saying one thing up front and another behind your back." I gave her a look, gently furrowing my brows. Wasn't she supposed to be the Ice Queen? Why was she talking so much today? If Rachel knew what I was thinking, she'd probably feel so wronged. Sure, she was cold and generally quiet, but in this case, if she didn't speak up, what if someone else ran off with me? She wasn't about to make the mistake of handing me over to someone else again. "Shut up! This is between Leo and me. It's none of your business!" Clara snapped, exasperated. I already wasn't pleased with her, and now with Rachel stirring things up, I would only dislike her more. "Why should she shut up? She's not wrong," I said calmly. Clara looked completely crushed. "Leo, are you really siding with her and bullying me?" "So, what if we are? You and that guy next to you haven't exactly been kind to Leo," Rachel sneered. "Clara, just go. We're divorced. Don't keep clinging to me. Let's part with a little dignity," I said flatly. "Leo, won't you just give me one more chance? Is there really no hope for us?" Clara asked painfully, reaching for me. Before I could react, Rachel pulled me back. "Don't you ever touch Leo with your dirty hands," Rachel said icily. "Clara, Leo doesn't even like you anymore. I'm the one who truly loves you. You used to like me too, remember?" "What changed?" Simon pleaded, holding her hand. Caught between Rachel and Simon, Clara failed to reach me. We were less than 2 meters apart, yet it felt like an insurmountable distance. It seemed like she had really lost me, unable to reach me anymore. I frowned. "Just go away and don't stand in front of me. It's bad luck. Let's go, ma'am," I said, grabbing Rachel's hand and hastily walking away. "Leo! Leo!" Clara tried to follow, but Simon held her back tightly, preventing her from chasing after me. "Clara, Leo doesn't like you anymore. Chasing after him won't help. Look at me, I like you. I've been waiting for you. You did like me before, you treated me so well. So why have you changed?" Simon asked, choking back tears. A year ago, Simon's delicate looks might have made this scene seem pitiable, but now, looking so worn and weary, it just seemed repulsive. Clara forcefully pulled his hands off of her, pushing him away. Simon fell, landing hard on his backside. His hands pressed against the gravelly ground, the sharp stones digging into his palms, making him wince with pain. "Clara, how could you treat me like this? My hands are all scraped." But Clara felt no sympathy, just watched him coldly. "Simon, I told you I don't like you. The person I love is Leo. Stop pestering me, we will never work," Clara said sternly. Since the night she had discovered Simon and Sam's deceit, Clara had consciously distanced herself from the father and son duo. But Simon was annoyingly persistent, constantly chasing after her. Most outrageously, he had even tried stripping down and throwing himself at her once. Even after being kicked out by her, Simon seemed shameless and wasn't giving up at all. He had just turned around and started bothering her again. For a whole year, she had been terribly annoyed by his persistence. So, when she finally found out where I was, she had rushed over. She didn't expect Simon to follow her here too. "But you're divorced from Leo. He doesn't love you anymore, and he doesn't want you," Simon said angrily. Clara's eyes darkened. "I'll find a way to win him back. He used to love me so much. He only left because he thought I didn't love him. Once I tell him how I really feel, he'll definitely come back to me." The more she talked, the more confident she became, as if she was certain she was going to win. Seeing Clara so determined, Simon realized he had no chance with her and burst out laughing sarcastically. "Ha ha! You love Leo? That's the funniest joke I've ever heard." Clara looked furious, but Simon wasn't scared at all. He sneered, "If you really loved Leo, why did you keep leaving him to take care of me and Sam?" "I thought you two really needed my help," Clara said, feeling a bit uneasy. Deep down, she knew she wasn't as noble as she claimed to be. She had just gotten distracted by Simon's vulnerable act, but she would never admit that. "Ha! Tell enough lies and you'll start believing them yourself," Simon mocked. "Leo was still around when you threw yourself at me. Why didn't you push me away then?" Her face flushed with embarrassment. "Thomas, shut up!" she hissed, looking around nervously, afraid someone might overhear. "Clara, do you really think you can just turn around and get Leo back? Don't be ridiculous. Do you think Leo is still that same guy who was madly in love with you? He doesn't love you anymore," Thomas added. "Liar! I know Leo still cares about me. He's just mad at me right now and ignoring me. If I just wait long enough, I can win him back," Clara said, her eyes teary. Thomas snorted. "Leo won't come back. He planned your divorce himself. Why do you think he insisted on you signing those papers that night and even threatened you? Because he had talked to me beforehand to distract you, so you would sign them without even realizing what you were signing." Hearing this, Clara's mind went completely blank, and she almost couldn't stand still. I had teamed up with Simon to orchestrate our divorce? I held Rachel's hand as we walked back towards the dorm. Rachel looked down at our clasped hands with a look of satisfied delight. She wiggled her fingers through mine, intertwining them. I noticed, but pretended not to. When we got to the dorm door, I calmly let go of her hand. "Those party poopers are here, so we can't go out to eat. I'll just cook some noodles in the room. Does that sound okay?" I asked. "Okay," Rachel agreed sweetly. To me, her usual cold demeanor had transformed into that of a cute, obedient girl, a change that often left me a bit dazed. Since cooking wouldn't take long, I let Rachel wait inside. but she insisted on standing by the door, watching me cook. "Leo, you're so impressive, cooking noodles and all," Rachel praised. I was speechless, giving her an amused look. Anyone who can't cook noodles is a total loser. "That's true," Nancy muttered, unfazed. She quickly found another way to compliment me. "Leo, these noodles smell exceptionally good. They already smell delicious." I had just added water to the pot. "I just fried some eggs and added water. I haven't even put the noodles in yet. How could it possibly smell?" Nancy then pouted. "You could be a little more agreeable, you know. Just for once." "Leo." "No can do." Rachel's face quickly turned cold. With one swift movement, she stood right in front of him. "What do you want? You're divorced, and Leo clearly said he doesn't want to see you. If you keep this up, I'll have the guards arrest you for trespassing on a military site." Rachel's voice was icy, her presence commanding. Clara hadn't even spoken before I gently patted Rachel's arm. "Calm down, or you might strain your injury." Hearing this, Rachel instantly softened, becoming all compliant. "Okay, I just don't want her bugging you," she frowned. "I know, I'll handle it." I stepped forward, looking at Clara with a frown. "Why are you here again? Haven't we already cleared everything up?" I asked, annoyed. The way I spoke to Rachel was completely different from how I addressed Clara, a fact that Clara could definitely feel. She looked upset and asked, "Did Simon tell me the truth? Did you get him to help you orchestrate our divorce?" "Yeah, that's right," I admitted. I didn't deny anything because it was the truth. Clara looked increasingly pale. She lashed out, pointing at Rachel. "So the reason you wanted the divorce was because of her? Were you cheating on me all along? Was Simon just an excuse? You—" Smack! Before she could finish her sentence, I slapped her hard across the face. Clara felt a buzzing in her ears, and her face hurt as if it were going to split open. She slowly turned to look at me, disbelief written all over her eyes. She had never thought that I would actually hit her. I looked at her coldly. "Clara, don't think that everyone is as gross as you and Simon. You're a married woman, yet you're messing around with another man. And Simon? He knows you're married and still plays the victim messing around with a married woman. I kept quiet about it because it's disgusting and I didn't want to get into it. But if you make me lift the veil on this, the only ones who will look bad are you two. Ever since we got married, I haven't been in touch with my old colleague. It was because of a top-secret mission that we reconnected, and now we're both working for the same organization. I have stayed faithful throughout our entire marriage. Whether you believe me or not, that's on you. And by the way, we're divorced now. I am a single man. Even if I date, marry, or have kids with someone else, it has got nothing to do with you. You have zero right or position to question me." Having said my piece, I gave Clara another look of disdain. I couldn't believe I had once found something appealing in her. "I've said what I needed to say. Get lost, or I'll make you," I added. I turned away, ignoring Clara's expression or her reactions, and started cooking the noodles for myself. "Why are you still here?" Rachel demanded as Clara stayed put, glaring at her. Clara ignored her, silently watching me go about my business. I finished cooking the noodles and started scooping them into bowls. "Don't worry about her. Come on in and eat," I told Rachel, then walked inside, brushing past Clara as if she didn't even exist. "Leo, are we really done?" Clara finally asked in a hoarse voice, sounding like she was on the verge of crying. I didn't pause or respond. Nancy, witnessing this, found it satisfying and snapped, "Just leave, you homewrecker! Stop being an eyesore!" Then she followed me inside, shutting the door with a loud bang. I frowned at her. "Are you trying to break the door? You'll be the one fixing it if you do." Rachel shot back, "Fine, I'll fix it. Anything that breaks in this house, I'll take care of it." I glanced at her. Just eat. I'm hungry. Nancy nodded and focused on her noodles. They paid no attention to whether Olivia had left or not, continuing their meal and casual chat. Outside, Clara stood there, listening to the distant murmur of conversation and laughter from inside. Her heart ached until it went numb. She finally accepted the truth. I was done with her, and there was absolutely no chance of winning me back. Feeling hollow and devastated, she turned and left. I finished up my meal and took my bowl to the kitchen to wash it, finding the corridor empty. With no more eyesores in sight, my dishwashing went a little faster. Rachel noted, "Looks like Leo has really moved on from her." "What did you think? That I'm still hung up on her?" I responded, a slight sarcastic smile on my face. "Maybe a little bit before, but not now," Rachel chuckled. I rolled my eyes. In matters of the heart, her mind was a lost cause. Rachel hesitated for a while before asking, "So, Leo, are you ready to open up to a new relationship?" At this, I looked up at her, my eyes sharp and unreadable. Rachel's heart skipped a beat, and her breath quickened. Finally, Rachel asked tentatively, "Leo, you wouldn't let one toxic ex make you swear off love and relationships, would you?" Please don't, she thought. She had waited so long for him to break free from that failed marriage, hoping that she could finally step in and become the one for him. If he shut his heart down completely, what was she going to do? Nancy felt the ache of impending tears, but pushed on. "Leo, she's just one bad apple. There are plenty of good women out there." Seeing her panic, I couldn't help but grin. "Like who?" "Like me." Rachel's eyes sparkled. "I'm a catch, and you know it. Out of all our peers, I'm definitely at the top of the pack. We know each other well, we work great together, and maybe we could make a life together too. What do you think?" I frowned, looking conflicted. Isn't that a bit overboard? We work well together on the job, and if we also date, get married, and live together, wouldn't that mean we're stuck at the hip 24/7? Sure, your face is nice to look at, but I'd probably get sick of it eventually. Let's not." Nancy almost spat out a mouthful of blood when she heard that. What happened to the whole being close gives you an advantage thing? Turns out she was being dismissed for being too close? Nancy quickly said, "How could you possibly get tired? If we're together, whether at work or in our personal lives, you'd be able to keep an eye on me all the time. You'd know what I'm up to and wouldn't have to worry about me running off with some other guy, right?" I relaxed my eyebrows a bit, thinking she had a point. And I'm pretty awesome. If this research project ends successfully, they're planning to promote me. My rank would be way higher than that ex of yours. She'd have to look up to you. You could easily outshine her. Rachel tried hard to sell herself. I nodded. You're right. No matter what Nancy said, I agreed, but I never explicitly agreed to be with her officially. Rachel talked until her mouth was dry. Seeing me still being so calm, she bit her lip and decided to go for it. The most important thing is, I love you. She grabbed my shoulders, looked at me seriously, and said softly, Leo, from the very first time I saw you, I liked you. That like eventually turned into love. I've loved you for so many years. You don't even know when you came to me all happy, saying you liked Olivia and wanted to marry her, it broke my heart. But I couldn't stop you. I didn't want you to be unhappy, or for you to hate me. Leo, I lost you once. From the moment you married her, I became like a walking corpse. Until a year ago when you came back and told me you had gotten a divorce. That's when I started living again. Leo, can you please give me a chance to pursue you? I'll be good to you, and I'll never hurt you like Olivia did. As Rachel spoke, her eyes got red. When she saw me still looking at her without any change in my expression, her heart sank. Finally, she let go of my shoulders, gave a bitter smile, and said, I'm sorry, Leo, I lost my composure. Just forget what I said. We can go back to how things were. The next moment, Rachel froze, because I was holding her face, making her look up as I leaned over and kissed her lips. It was a quick peck, there and gone in an instant. She didn't even get to fully feel the warmth of my lips. "Okay, I agree," I said. "What did you just say?" Nancy was stunned. "Go fill out the marriage report. Once it's approved, we'll go get the certificate." I threw out those words, went back inside, and closed the door. Rachel stood there in shock. A moment later, she almost jumped for joy. "Don't move around too much. If your wound opens up, it'll delay us getting the certificate," my voice came through the door. Rachel forced herself to tamp down her excitement and quickly responded, "Okay." Then she hurried back to her own dorm and started rummaging through her things. The paper and pen for the marriage report were on her desk. She just needed to find her household registration book and other necessary documents. I listened to the chaos coming from the room next door, leaning against my own door with a silent laugh. Though my life had taken a wrong turn, and I had gone through a tough time, I was glad I had found the courage to start over. Rachel's years of secret love, her silent watchfulness, and her open confessions over this past year. Since I had known of them, I couldn't just ignore them. My heart wasn't made of stone. I was willing to give them both a chance, to nurture her affection and see it flourish. I thought it couldn't possibly turn out bad. After all, Rachel respected me enough and hadn't used her efforts to try and manipulate me. Just for that, I thought it was worth a shot. I believed there was a bright and happy future waiting for me.